It reminds me of Harry Potter and the very first one, Sorcerer's Stone, with the Dursleys and their son being like upset that he didn't get more presents. I mean,
Kinda, yeah.
that's what I imagine. If these guys like, it's not enough. You know,
It's a fairly appropriate metaphor.
That is actually a really good one there, Josh. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Citizens Gaming Podcast. I'm Tim.
hey, this is Josh.
And I'm Brenden.
All right, so this is going to be yet again another news episode. I don't know. It just doesn't stop.
A lot happened over the last week and a half, 2 weeks or so.
I mean, yeah. I mean, starting with one of the biggest ones. I mean, Microsoft came out and announced that Xbox and Bethesda Game Showcase is going to be hitting June 12th. So, what do you guys think about that?
Is that going to be like an in-person show? Or are they going to have an audience? Is this going to be purely online?
No.
Online only, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I believe they're doing the, there's this thing they do that's like something for the fans. And it's an online thing that they've tied into their digital events. I forget, it's like Xbox Fan something. Oh, I forget what it's called. But I believe that's going to be a part of it. I just don't know to what extent.
Okay. I mean, so this, we were kind of talking off mic a little bit ago, and we're really hoping for some news on different games. And we'll kind of throw this a little bit in here too. Redfall and Starfield have officially been delayed into 2023. We all agree that we hope that there's going to be a little bit more info or some more news, videos, or anything about Starfield and Redfall during that showcase next month at this.
Yeah. I would bet. I mean, I'm pretty sure we were already going to see stuff from both of them there. Whether or not now we're going to see more since they've been delayed, like if they're going to try and increase that presence. I mean, at least especially for Starfield. I know Redfall has been kind of flying under the radar. I know we talked about it a couple times here and there, but in general, it's definitely not as big as Starfield. Starfield obviously is, I mean, now probably one of like the 3 biggest games of the year, or was anyway.
Yeah, definitely was one of the big 3. I think we'll see something to maybe kind of let us know like what stage the game is at and why it was pushed back.
Yeah, the Twitterverse, as I like to call it, was on fire with now Xbox has no games, no exclusives coming out, and I'm just like, it's for the best.
But again, that's not 100% true.
It's not 100% true, but a lot of people also forget, like, look what happened with Cyberpunk's premature release, and just, a lot of people can complain immediately, or just maybe out of like frustration or whatever, how this affects them, I guess, but it's for the better.
I mean, to be fair, it does suck that this stuff got canceled, or not canceled, but pushed back.
Absolutely.
And I mean, they are also right in the fact that now Xbox, I mean, they don't have no games, but like these were going to be like their 2 exclusives for like the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And now they're gone.
Well, they still have Avowed. If Avowed is still supposed to come out this year.
I mean, well, there's a chance we might see that at the showcase. If that's coming out this year, we're going to have to see it.
And that's still an Xbox exclusive. So
yes,
that's almost an ignorant statement saying they have nothing left, because we still have this game potentially on the table for 2022.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Yeah,
we still have the showcase.
Yeah.
That's the point. It's like we don't know what's really coming.
Yeah, they might have something to drop at the showcase, which is hopeful. I mean, honestly, the Redfall being delayed, I understand. Like, they still didn't even have a release date. It was supposed to be out this summer. And and we hadn't even seen anything about it since they announced it like last year. Like that one didn't really surprise me. The one that's really irking people is Starfield, because again, like they gave a date. Like they were like, we swear. They were like, we swear on the Skyrim it will be out on 11/11/22, and they're missing it. I think that's really the sticking point, is that they gave a very solid release date, from last year that it'll be out then, and then they're like, hey guys, we're gonna have to delay it.
I mean, but how much of that do you think? This is just me being, poking my finger in places I shouldn't, but how much of that do you think was influenced by Xbox rather than Bethesda teams and, Todd Howard wanting to give a date?
Well, considering it was the 11/11 date, I would imagine that was Todd Howard. I would imagine that was Bethesda proper.
Yeah, that's like a Bethesda thing more than
the decision to delay it. I mean, again, as annoying as it is still theoretically good for the game. It'll make the game better. And yeah, after the last, the dumpster fires that have happened over the last couple of years, nobody wants to be the next Battlefield 2042, the next Cyberpunk, the next, No Man's Sky or whatever.
All right, so let's say the caveat to that. Okay, so yeah, they don't want to be that, but they also want to have a strong release like Elden Ring did too.
I mean, for the sake of video games these days, with like how half-baked a lot of games, even games that launch steady and how half-baked they are, I think it's needed badly for something to come out with that's a home run.
So
I agree.
I was talking to Josh the other day when this news actually broke, and this is superficial. This is purely my opinion. I'm almost kind of glad that Starfield was pushed back, because I think it's safe to say that Elden Ring is going to take Game of the Year. And I think
yes.
Yes.
And I think that and Starfield going into 2023 gives Starfield the opportunity to be the strong front runner for 2023 Game of the Year. It's a superficial thing. Absolutely.
My problem with that is that now the first half of 2023 is already stacked, and that's also when we're supposed to get Breath of the Wild 2. So
and God of War stuff, right? God of War?
Theoretically, God of War is still coming out this year. I still have no reason to believe that, because we haven't seen jack shit. But so I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna be concerned if I find out that Breath of the Wild 2 and Starfield release within a week of each other.
Oh,
and then I'm just gonna be mad.
How much? Hey, how do you think a lot of these developers who are having games coming out in 2023 they saw Starfield get pushed back, and they're just like,
I mean, they really should.
Yeah, no.
But
even then, with
I bet
Breath of the Wild 2 coming out.
And I bet Hogwarts Legacy is kind of thinking that Starfield's getting pushed back, because guess what? Now the focus is going to be on them at the end of the year.
I'm sure they're excited about it. Although they're still going to get crushed by Call of Duty, so...
I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's modern warfare.
It's modern warfare. Come on.
It is modern warfare. You're comparing apples to oranges at that point. That is a hard argument to make.
I don't want it to be that way.
There is amongst the RPG community, Asmongold who's one of my main references. A lot of people are excited for this Harry Potter game. So I hope it gets its due, recognition.
Yep. Anyways, but circling back to the Bethesda game, getting tongue-tied here. The Xbox Bethesda game showcase. I do hope that we get more news on Fable when that's coming out.
Plus, we were actually talking about this earlier. There's, rumors circulating. Maybe we mentioned this in past episodes that, Microsoft has been touch and go with a possible a trilogy remaster of some sort, and people are betting between the Marcus Phoenix trilogy or the Fable trilogy, which I would hope it would be the Fable trilogy, only because it would it would make sense, and especially with hopes that we would hear something about, the next Fable in this, Xbox Bethesda showcase. That I would hope maybe those rumors of a trilogy remaster of some form would be mentioned.
I mean, if they are working on one, this would be a good opportunity to do it.
And-
whether it is Gears of War or Fable or whatever other trilogy they might have in mind. I don't know what it would be besides those two, but
Yeah,
And we've talked about it off mic before, and I think Fable, in my opinion, would be the smart choice to do the remaster on, with
it would.
the next Fable installment eventually coming.
I would agree. Like, that's a good synergistic selling point. To be like, oh, we heard about the new Fable. We'll come play these old ones since we remastered them / remade them.
Yep.
Because yeah, we still don't know when Gears 6 is coming. And I mean, Gears 5 was only 2 years ago now, maybe.
Oh, and they only recently, shotgunned and released the new Unreal Engine, and Coalition and all that stuff. They're big on that, so I could hardly imagine we would hear anything Gears.
I mean, I'm not saying we will. I'm just saying we don't know when that is. So I mean, Fable having a Fable trilogy remaster would definitely make more sense.
Yeah.
Since we know that's on the books and it's being worked on currently, and
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're probably going to get a few surprises too. I mean, stuff that we just haven't heard of or thought about in a while. Maybe get some third-party stuff as well, since nobody's doing. Well, I mean, E3 got canceled, so nobody's doing at E3. So they might try to get something out of some other studio. And I mean, honestly, too, we'll probably also get a lot of stuff about what's coming to Game Pass in the last half of the year.
Yeah, true. And I'm sure we're going to get surprise Game Pass releases that day, too. Like, hey, it's on Game Pass now. You know how they like to do.
They do have a history of doing that, yeah.
Yep.
We'll see about that. Unfortunately, though, I mean, I don't know if you guys really heard about this. I didn't experience it personally, but there were some Xbox outages that happened like the first weekend of May.
Yeah, I experienced it. Yep.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, so basically, it was one of those outages that I guess affected the licensing side of things. So, you couldn't access any of your apps, and that was games included. So the Xbox was having a difficulty opening up the settings app. It was bonkers.
Yeah. People literally couldn't play games even if they had the physical copies. Like, you couldn't even put in a disc and play whatever the game was that you were trying to play. It just didn't work.
Which I saw a lot of the community was like, okay, that's not acceptable for us to be able to have physical copies, or let alone we own all these games and we can't play them.
Yeah. Which is fair. I mean, it is a fair point to be said of whether or not you own a game and whether or not you should always have access to it. I mean, technically, we still don't know exactly what the issue was. Like, it might have just been a hiccup.
It didn't come out. They didn't say anything.
Yeah. So, I mean...
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm sure they know what it is, but they didn't tell us. And so, there's a lot of people just jumping to conclusions that, oh, it's this, that, or the other, and it's bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But, it could have just been something innocuous. But it could have been those things, and if it is those things, then, yeah, that's... a lot of people were saying that it's their online check DRM was just not working. And that's why you couldn't start any game, because it couldn't, like you were saying, it couldn't read the license that you own that game, that you paid for it and had it downloaded and yada yada.
Yeah.
Again, don't know if that's true or not at all. But that seems to be the consensus on Twitter and stuff, that's what happened. But, I mean, yeah, it is a bit disconcerting that you can, have all these things digitally, and just because something went haywire, you literally have no way to play any of them.
The Xbox literally became useless. You couldn't do a damn thing. That is a little scary to think, because that's not going to be the last time. we're gonna have online
Probably
issues
not.
or things like
They
that.
need to figure that out, and they need to turn that around, because that will be a major like reason for people not to buy Xbox or console. I don't know if PlayStation does the same thing, but with Steam and PC, if you don't have an internet connection, you can still play your games.
That's
Yeah.
that's the thing they need to sort out.
Yeah,
is
that
like,
needs to
that should
be-
be number one. That's like if your Xbox has zero internet connection, it should function seamlessly without it at a basic level of like running, like a game or the settings app. Like you should always be able to run those offline.
I mean, to be fair, you usually can, which makes this online DRM hiccup a little odd. But again, like we have, they never said what it was, so we have no idea.
Yeah.
And it did. This wasn't like, it was widespread, but it didn't hit like everybody. But it was something like it happened once, and then the Xbox support Twitter was like, "Okay, we fixed it," and then people were like, "No, you didn't, because it's still not working here." They literally did that like 5 times.
It lasted over 48 hours, I think, the issues. Like a lot of it was just kind of like a petering, like almost like, when you see a firecracker go off in a weird way. Like
But yeah, it was widespread. Like, it was a global problem. It was hitting different regions at different times, and
And was it sporadic and kind of inconsistent
Yeah.
in why or how?
yeah.
Was it just the Series X, or was it One and
No, it was-
X?
From my understanding, it was like all of Xbox.
Because I was wondering if
Or
it
well,
wasn't like a.
Xbox consoles.
I was
I guess
wondering
I
if it
should
wasn't
say.
like something to do with maybe like the serial code or the batch number of when
Which
the
is
Xbox
possible.
was
Like,
made.
it's possible. We that's the thing.
Yeah.
They didn't say anything. They're just like, we fixed it, and then they just kind of
yeah,
went
they
quiet
literally
after
they literally came out saying we are getting reports that our users are experiencing issues, and they, the typical. It's so weird how like so non-verbal they were, and then have continued to be ever since it happened.
Yeah. It was a weird situation. I mean, it has been resolved as of now, which is good.
And it may be they're just being quiet about it because they're trying to figure out like why it happened and how to prevent it.
Yeah. I mean, it's also possible it might have been multiple things across the board, because, like, like we said, a few things were not working.
Yeah.
So, like, it could have been multiple problems. Like, we don't really know.
Yeah, it could have been one thing that caused, like a daisy chain effect to other issues that,
Yeah.
this one part maybe took a crap, so it caused 2 more things to shit the bed as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen that happen quite a bit with, computers, technology, stuff like that.
Yep. So, odds are we'll probably never know.
Yes.
Like, we're being honest.
So
But yeah.
we keep talking about Unreal Engine 5, and more games are coming forward saying that they're going to create, or more developers are coming out saying they're going to create new games on this new engine. Well, now it's rumored that the Mafia prequel is also going to utilize Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah. I mean, it's not surprising. Unreal Engine is one of the most popular game engines. If you play video games for more than like 10 days, you've probably played a game that runs on Unreal on some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's one of Epic's biggest lines of profit, because they just license that out. So you just pay to use the license, and you get all the tools of Unreal. And to be fair to them, it's a great engine. Like, it's a wonderful engine, and it runs better than so many other engines out there.
Yeah, I mean, I believe with the possibilities of the new engine. I mean, even Epic and Fortnite, they're gonna start investing in giving, I guess, players the ability to kind of create their own modes or something to start supporting Creators.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, they're gonna let them play around with some of the tools and put stuff into Fortnite,
But
which is going to be upgraded in Unreal 5.
Mafia being on
Yeah.
Unreal 5, like, that's a match made in heaven, in my opinion.
I mean, it should be good. We still don't know when that's happening, and the original director of the Mafia games recently just left that studio, Hangar 13.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know. I'll be interested to see, especially as the Mafia series it's kind of strange. Like it's popular enough, but it's not like that popular.
I feel
Um,
like it was more popular back when it was in its that time period. I forget, like Mafia 2 for me was like where I played it, and that had a vibe, like just a vibe a lot of other games don't play with, and I mean I didn't resonate well with the third one, not at all.
right.
But if they're doing that prequel thing and going back, I feel like it could hit.
Well, that's what'll be weird is because the original Mafia takes place like basically during World War II,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe just like slightly after. And then, I mean, same with in Mafia 2, I think it takes place in like the 50s. And then Mafia 3 is in like the 70s. So if it's a prequel to the whole franchise, like it's going to be in like the 20s and 30s, I would imagine.
Which would be a good era to
Okay.
have that style of game, too.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all rumors and stuff. And I mean, yeah, like even for the day, like the Mafia games have always been very, eye popping because they're gorgeous games. They've always looked good. So running that on Unreal 5.
Mafia 2, dragging one of your victims into the bakery.
But yeah, like so they're gonna do that. I mean, we're gonna hear more and more stuff about people jumping to Unreal 5. It won't be a surprise.
No.
Yeah.
And then also we did there's gonna be another Summer Game Fest from like Jeff Keighley and IGN starting June 9th, and apparently they're gonna try and run it in IMAX theaters.
Wow.
Some IMAX theaters, I guess, which is interesting. I guess I don't know who's gonna pay to go see that, but
The cost on that would have to be, from a consumer standpoint, the cost on that would have to be fairly low for me to want to go do something like that.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know why you would go pay to see something that you can just watch on the internet for free. I mean, especially when it's something that is just like a game showcase. Like it's not, it's not like the next Star Wars or something. Like
Yeah.
it's not something that's going to be improved by being in a theater.
Right.
Like,
I mean, like, I'm thinking
yeah,
like maybe
no.
3D support, but even then I think like that's not really going to be...
it's not going to do anything.
Yeah.
Even so, that makes it awkward. I
It
mean,
does.
Like, you're going like, I mean, I feel like maybe I could resonate well, but like, how many people you gonna know are gonna go to the theaters kneeling Willie in front of a bunch of people and be like, "Hey, I'm buying a movie for tickets for this." Like, what?
Do they
like-
have a partnership with IMAX? Is that why?
I have absolutely no idea.
That's
I don't know. It was just announced on like IGN and for the Summer Games Fest that they're gonna try and run some of it in IMAX theaters on June 9th.
That just sounds so like off the wall and out of left field.
Yeah, I mean, I will say that there's been a growing market for like special events in theaters,
Yeah.
which I mean that like I get, but
Okay, so hold a
Something
Madden
like this?
tournament inside of a theater.
but yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this,
Yeah.
this in particular doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But
No.
I mean, they must have seen some kind of value in it, I guess, in order to do it. I don't know.
Or just
Yeah.
trying something new out to see how the market takes it. Like an R&D
Yeah.
type deal.
Maybe. Who's to say?
I don't know.
I don't either. very weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. I literally can't even talk about it. Like, I have no idea what to say to that.
I mean, that's almost really the story as itself. This is just like, huh? Like, what? Is that Tim Allen noise? Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, God. Anyways. So here, keep it on the trend of movie theaters. Alan Wake's TV show is in the works at AMC.
Yeah.
It could be something. AMC, I mean, Walking Dead, I mean, obviously not where Walking
is a
Dead
show
is
that
at
still
right
exists
now.
for some reason.
Hey, if you look at like
should have ended after season 2.
the first 2 seasons of Walking Dead, you're like, damn, they could do something with Alan Wake, but just don't make it live like Walking Dead.
So this actually did get predicated. They released some new concept art for Alan Wake in addition to this announcement. And so the concept art looks pretty cool. It's really just kind of generic stuff, nothing like, no bombshells were dropped.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they announced this. Like, AMC does have a pretty good history of making, big TV shows. I mean, they did Breaking Bad. And critically acclaimed big TV shows. Breaking Bad, now Better Call Saul. I mean, yes, The Walking Dead and its various spin-offs. Which gives me a bit of hope for this. And Alan Wake in particular. Did you guys? I don't know if you guys ever played Alan Wake. Did either of you guys play Alan Wake?
Did.
I don't think I did.
Back on the 360, it was the neatest psychological thriller of a video game.
Yeah, like it's a very cool and interesting idea, and I would translate probably very well to a TV show, well, it is a TV show, but or a movie, because it's one of those things where it is more linear, and it has this, set characters and a set story and stuff. So you just kind of need to follow those paces as opposed to.
It really has the merits to. I mean, because there's so many shows and stuff out and movies that have come out, throughout the years that are something similar to what Alan Wake does.
I mean, yeah, Alan Wake definitely wears its influences on its sleeve. It is very kind of, alternate reality, Twilight Zone.
Yeah, Twilight Zone's a good one. Yep, that's a good one. For him.
It is a straight Twilight Zone episode, basically.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Let alone it I think it's still wrly stages, so I don't think we have anything. But I'll be interested to see who they cast for Alan Wake and stuff like that. Because the guy who was the character model for Alan Wake, actually is an actor. They could get him to do it. But will they? I don't know.
I mean, with the track record of yeah, I would hope so. That'd be cool.
I mean, maybe he'll probably at least get a cameo, worst case, but.
Okay.
But yeah.
Wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, so that's happening. Again, probably still a ways away, but. Also, big news. The original writer for Portal recently gave an interview, and he was very gung-ho about trying to write Portal 3.
Ooh. What about Half-Life, though? I know that has nothing to do with that, but...
Well, there's the rub. Valve does not like releasing games with 3 in the title, so...
They're so dumb for that, though.
Dude, if you were just sitting here making money on Steam, what incentive do you have to make a game? Let's be honest.
It's Half-Life, though.
I mean, they made Half-Life Alyx, and that's VR. I think, and that's half of the reason Half-Life Alyx exists is because they wanted to
shut people up.
No. I mean, well, there's probably some part to that, but I mean, that's the thing. When they did Half-Life, the original thing was the physics, and then when they did Half-Life 2, it was improving that physics engine and adding all those crazy mechanics that you could do in Half-Life 2. And then Half-Life 3 never came to fruition because they could never find a way. It was just going to close the story. It wasn't going to be some new, inventive thing.
Could you imagine if they with what's available now?
I mean, that's what Half-Life Alyx is. Like, I played a demo of it briefly in VR, and it's like all that crazy physics stuff you do in Half-Life, you just do it in VR. It's crazy. Like, Half-Life Alyx is insane. Like, Half-Life Alyx is a reason to own a VR headset, like, straight up.
Okay, so we're getting another Portal. Josh is wanting a Half-Life 3.
We're not getting another Portal. We're also not getting Half-Life 3.
I was gonna say, are we gonna get it? Okay, if we did get that, would we get another orange box?
That I don't know. No, because then they'd have to make Team Fortress 3, and they're not going to do that.
They're screwed. They're stuck on 3s, dude.
The orange box was the shit back in the day.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, like, so the original writer came out, and I forget who he was doing the interview with, but he was just like I will write Portal 3. If somebody tells me at Valve that I can start writing Portal 3 tomorrow, he's like, I'll be ready. It's like, I'm just getting older, and I really want to write it. I have all these great ideas for it, but, like, Valve does not want to commission the game. I mean, again, that's despite all the fan positivity around Portal, just of people wanting a third one. And, I mean, God, it's been 12 years?
Million
I think 2010. I think 2010 was Portal 2.
So, wait,
maybe 2011.
He needs to leave Valve, go somewhere else, give it an outlandish name, and
I don't know.
Make it on his own.
Look what they did with freaking Back for Blood.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is the prime example of what happens. But like, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I don't really see it happening again. Literally, Valve has never released a game with a 3 in the title. And I don't see why they're going to start now.
Yeah, sadly.
But yeah, he wants to make it, and like, he knows there's people within Valve who would be happy to jump on board and like, you know, actually develop it. But he's just like, Valve just will not give them the go ahead, and they own all the rights and stuff. So they're the one holding the keys to the car here.
That's sad.
That's so strange. Yeah,
it's weird.
Another game that's going to die with time.
What do you got here?
So, Dying Light 2 sold 5 million units its first month, and Elden Ring has now outsold Call of Duty Vanguard.
Yes, as of the last report, Elden Ring sold 13.4 million copies. Last time we reported, it was about 12 million. And that's after, so that's like, it's been on sale, what, like a month and a half now? Something like that?
Hey, fun news for the Elden Ring community. Apparently that legendary player, Let Me Solar Her, who helps players beat Melania, has beat her for the
1,000 times.
1,000th time or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
It is crazy. He also got modded into the game.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
But anyway, yeah, it is crazy that out of every game, that Elden Ring has now outsold the previous Call of Duty, which is, I mean, that's crazy. Like, that's, again, I've mentioned it before about how often Call of Duty, even on its bad years, is still like the best-selling game of the year.
That game does it right, though. You know, not to interrupt you, but like it has the old ways in it. Like, it gives you everything with no microtransactions. Go find it, go loot it, go find those treasure chests. Like, it is literally a complete game. That's, you know, where they weren't trying to rob you of your money for like more like cosmetics, equipment, this and that. That game has everything. Like, you know, like back in the old days, all the games that were just equipped for exploration, you know?
I mean, we will do an episode on Elden Ring. We do keep saying that. But
absolutely.
We're going to do one at some point. But
it deserves this milestone. And
I don't think anyone is upset by this news. And if you are, then you're an Activision CEO or something. So you're on Activision's board of directors, like, what the hell's this crap?
Or you just
What is this?
This game beat us. What is it?
or you just hate video games.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, I mean that also tells us that, I mean, yeah, Call of Duty Vanguard, despite again having a supposedly worse year and not being as lauded as it usually is, still
let's put it
sold
this way. They need to
well over 10
stop.
million copies.
They need to stop with the World War II. They've done more World War II Call of Duty games than they've done modern, which is what people want.
Well,
they need to.
World War II is where it all started. I mean that's where almost every first-person shooter started. I mean, aside from Doom, but
I mean, I don't know how many stories can you go back and tell about World War II now.
You're not wrong. Like it's World War II shooters have been done to death. And
yes.
I mean, at this point, though, too, I mean, at this point, I would argue too that modern warfare shooters have also been done to death. Well, no, scratch that. Shooters have been done to death.
Yeah,
that statement I will agree with.
But I guess where I go to things is like with the modern stuff. There's so many. I mean, obviously, the rumors of them doing the cartel stuff for this next Modern Warfare, but I feel like there's so many other great stories that have happened within the modern years of combat and war that they could just capitalize on.
Yeah, I think it's really more of the moral gray area that modern war tends to go into. I mean, who's gonna get mad at you shooting a Nazi in the face? Nazis, and then who fucking cares? Fuck Nazis.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're validly correct.
Like, I mean, it's the easy pick because it's like shooting zombies. It's like, oh, all zombies are bad. You shoot zombies. Like no one's gonna complain about that.
They might want to be. They might want to keep trying to steer away from that. Modern Warfare 2's no Russian back in the day. I mean,
they probably will steer away from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But although rolling on from that, well, since we did just talk about Call of Duty Vanguard, Activision had an investor call, and they were disappointed with Call of Duty Vanguard again, despite it selling, over 10 million units. Yeah, basically. They claimed that like you were saying, Josh, the World War II setting didn't resonate with the community, and there was a lack of innovation, which is hysterical because Call of Duty hasn't innovated in like the better part of a decade. But whatever.
It's like, hey, they go from Modern Warfare 2019, bam, banger, right? And all of a sudden, let's go back to World War II. Oh, why didn't it do well? Well, why do you think?
Well, part of it too is, I mean, they apparently like there was a poll or something about like why people weren't playing Call of Duty after like this news started to break circa November, that it wasn't doing as well as they wanted. And people were just like, well, we're playing other games. Like, there's other stuff to play. And I'm like, in my head, I'm immediately like, there's been other stuff to play for every Call of Duty for the last, 10 years. Where have you people been?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely not wrong with that one.
True.
Like, that was also their claim. And I do think you are right. Like, I think people were tired of the World War II setting because, again, it's been done to death. Like, from every angle, from every theater of war.
From so many companies, dude.
Like, all different kinds of franchises and different styles and stuff like that. Like, it is just kind of done to death. But that being said, despite it being disappointing, it was still the best-selling game of 2021. I don't know why you can be disappointed in that. Whatever. I don't.
And not only was it
I don't understand CEOs.
Best-selling game of 2021, it also came out October.
It reminds me of Harry Potter and the very first one, Sorcerer's Stone, with the Dursleys and their son being like upset that he didn't get more presents. I mean,
kinda, yeah.
That's what I imagine at these guys like. It's not enough.
It's a fairly appropriate metaphor.
That is actually a really good one there, Josh.
But yeah, so that's that. I mean, there's a whole bunch has been going on at Activision. They did finally approve, the board of Activision officially approved the Microsoft acquisition, on April 28th. It won like 98% of the vote, like so there's only a few holdouts. And I still don't think there's any reason to doubt that this is not going to happen. We might see some holdups from the government. Supposedly, the Biden administration and the FTC is now going to be harder on tech companies and tech mergers and stuff like this, but I still don't see how they would stop it.
Hey, on that note, they did jump into actively investigating the Bungie Sony merger
They did do that, too.
buyout because of how Sony came out publicly Bungie came out publicly and stated that they were going to stay multi-platform and have to be able to do what they want, and I guess that's gained the interest of the government because they're afraid that those rights are going to get taken from them by Sony.
Something like that, yeah. We'll see. I mean, that's still going to be ages away, but
yeah, I just thought it just fit into the range of like.
No, you're right. You're right, and I mean, it's like I said, like the new chair of the FTC, that President Joe Biden put in there, is openly stated repeatedly about all these tech mergers and buyouts and stuff that they're going to try to be harder on them and try and kind of slow them down because they feel like the internet space, the web space and stuff is getting a little too homogenized into like the same like 5 or 6 companies are all own like the entire internet basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they finally approved that board acquisition. Again, still probably going to go through until next year, or won't go through until next year. Like they're predicting like summer of 2023 before that becomes like finalized, as in Microsoft now officially owns Activision.
Yeah.
And continuing the wide open shitstorm that is Activision, they are now facing a new lawsuit, somewhat ironically from the state of New York, because I guess a bunch of New York state employees' pension funds and like retirement funds and stuff like that had bought into Activision stock, and they are claiming that Activision breached their fiduciary duty by not giving them time to think and make appropriate decisions about that stuff, and then so they just rushed through the merger, one, to avoid liability, and two, so that they wouldn't have to reveal all these things that people were asking for, like some of their records and stuff like that, again, so they could try and avoid I guess getting caught. Well, getting caught implies that they're guilty, which we don't know, but we all kind of assume. But they're trying to avoid giving out any files or records that might condemn them or show them in a bad light or whatever. So yeah, now there's it's like the New York State Workers Pension Fund or something. I forget what it is exactly, but they have now sued Activision for this breach of duty and claiming that they weren't given documents they were legally allowed to have and ask for, and that then specifically Bobby Kotick, who is the CEO of Activision, pushed through this deal to again avoid any type of liability or condemnation, so that he wouldn't get in trouble.
That doesn't that screams guilty in so many forms and fashions.
We need to wait and see what happens. We see if they're correct with their lawsuit.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, again, it looks shady as fuck. I don't think any of us would argue that. Like it's kind of smoke to the fire type deal. But I mean, again, we have no proof of that. Activision then did obviously come out. Activision's legal team did then come out and say this is bogus. This is wildly untrue. We were already negotiating this deal when they were asking for this stuff. Da 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 da. They'll argue it all out in court, or settle on the side or whatever. But yeah, so they've got that going on. And then also, we recently talked about, again in our last news episode, about the Raven QA team that was unionizing. And now we've heard from employees there that they have been receiving emails, they've been holding specific meetings. Raven and Activision management has been holding specific meetings to tell them not to unionize, which I mean, that's no surprise. Like, it's union busting 101. But they have to vote to accept the union or deny it, or not take the union. It's by the end of May, I think. It's like May 30th, May 28th, maybe.
Yeah.
So we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, as of right now, shockingly, despite Activision, just promoting a bunch of people and all that stuff, is just telling these people, like, no, just don't unionize. Everything was fine before, which is totally why you guys had to unionize, because everything was fine before.
I really hope Microsoft comes in and cleans that up.
Well, I mean, Microsoft did say that they would recognize the union if one was formed when they got a hold of it. But again, that's still...
It's still
like we just said,
away.
Yeah, that's still probably at least a year out. So we'll see what happens.
And that's easy to say right now. Let's see what happens, next summer. Or
yeah, it's just something. I mean, this is like almost every story that's coming out about Activision Blizzard is somehow just painting them in a worse light and just making it like the turd that won't flush just keeps coming back. It's just like, good lord.
jeez.
Yeah.
Don't everybody jump at
Okay,
once to
so
take the next one.
hey, this is something I want to this is something I want to talk about. Okay, so me and Tim were actually talking about this earlier. Brenden, not so much you were around. Maybe you might have been when we mentioned it. But so Saints Row, the new one, had released a customization trailer, right? And I'm actually not too... I mean, it was a surprise to see that they're still going to play the Goofy. Because, from when they announced the trailer saying they're going back to the roots and stuff like that for the game and whatnot, seeing the customization trailer, I was like, ooh, wow, they're really pushing, like, the edginess of, like, how goofy the other ones went. And Tim doesn't like that.
I don't. Like, I like the original, the first two Saints Row, and the gangster, we'll call it the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas knockoff, and what those games were. And then it kind of started shifting its identity, and now it's Saints Row 4, which was this outlandish fighting aliens style game.
Yeah.
In the Matrix.
In the Matrix. My biggest issue with Saints Row has always been about the gang. I can't even remember the name of the gang. They're purple. And
Third Street Saints.
Yep.
And it looks like this new game is completely going away from, and I mean, this is just customization trailer, so where this is mere speculation at this point, but they're getting away from the roots, I think.
I mean, I see your point.
Yeah.
But to me, like, the Saints Row got good at Saints Row 3. I mean, Saints Row 2 was still great, but Saints Row 3 was probably the peak. Saints Row 4 is just absolutely batshit insane. I loved it for it, but you're right. Yeah, like, you're literally fighting aliens in the Matrix with superpowers. Yeah. If for some reason you can still steal cars despite the fact you could basically fly in the game. Like, I don't know why you even needed that mechanic.
Yeah.
But, and yeah, they did say they were going to roll it back a little bit because, again, Saints Row 4 was so over the top. That's where I think Saints Row found its identity, is by being that kind of goofy, over the top, I mean, it is a GTA clone. Like, it's an open world, like, crime game. Like, you can go, you can run around and punch people in the dick. Like, there's literally a dick punching button.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where it really found itself. Which it started to find in 2, and it definitely embraced it in 3. With like the cheesy soundtrack, like listening to freaking Bismarcky and pretty sure Vanilla Ice was on that one. He was on one of them.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of embraces over the top nature, and I mean, that's the thing. Like, if you want to run around as like, you can make your character normal. Like, it's not like it has to be a fucking weirdo. Like, but if you want to make your character look like the Incredible Hulk, and I mean that literally, you want to be like 7 feet tall, green, and ripped to shreds without a shirt on the entire game, you can do that.
Yeah,
like the game does not care.
I will appreciate the amount of customization that they are bringing into the game. Like, that is uncanny and that is really cool. I like that. It's just, to me, and this is the only video we have of it so far, or at least this in depth, and it's not its original formula. It is cool that you can go so far with the customization, because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is probably the most in-depth you can get with any game at this point.
I mean, Saints Row's customization is definitely probably one of the undersung great customization suites that there is. I mean, it was something they did in Saints Row 3 and 4 where you literally could just make anything. As long as it was like a vaguely humanoid figure. Like, it could be as weird and ugly and as goofy as you wanted them to look. But I mean, it does offer you the opportunity to play it a bit more straight-laced. And they did say specifically they were going to turn this back down to like Saints Row 2 and 3 levels of crazy. So you're still going to be able to, like, do crazy shit. I mean, the original trailer when they announced it was you and your, well, what is presumed your gangmates are, like, reverse driving on a rooftop in a shootout. Like it's going to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be, like, over the top.
So, I mean, and again, this is all, I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see as more information comes out about the game and what it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I mean, I may be sitting here worried about, the root of the game and what it used to be. And you're saying that they're trying to kind of throttle back to that. And it may very well be that. And just, they're going to have this.
I don't think they're going back to Saints Row 1. But they did say they specifically going more to, like, the 2 and 3 area where it's definitely still, like, zany, crazy, over the top. But it's not, like, it hasn't jumped the shark like Saints Row 4 did.
Yeah.
Sharknado type stuff.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm definitely probably still going to give this game a chance. It's not off my books yet.
Yeah, same. I mean, then, like, on the other side of the, things, when it comes to, beautiful games that I love, I guess, the rumor for, but the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, I guess the rumor of the name is Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, we heard they were going to change it, but we still don't know to what exactly.
Yeah, that's I mean, I guess if that's the name, that's not bad, but it's interesting.
I need to go and play Fallen Order. I played like 2 hours of it, and then this is back when I got back into console gaming and I got my Xbox One, so I was just bouncing all over the place playing different games. and it was really hard for me to focus. But
yeah,
if they change the name, I don't want to say change the name because it's not like they're renaming Fallen Order, but if the next game is going to be the Surviving Jedi, I can see that it still makes it the sequel to it.
Yeah, I mean, because, like, within, so with the Jedi Fallen Order's timeline, I mean, that takes place within, just shyly a few years after Episode 3. And they haven't stated how far the sequel's going to take place within time, so I guess that could also play into, like, the name change.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, we might see more of that this year at some point. Yeah. I gotta imagine that. EA's probably close to wanting to reveal that, since it's been a couple years since Fallen Order came out now.
Plus after Battlefield 2.
Yeah.
They need to bounce back, so yeah, I could see at least a little more information on that game coming out.
Yeah. for sure.
Yeah, I mean EA did tease they have 4 unannounced games during their last earnings call, just like May 10th or so. One of which is a major IP, which you could interpret that as Jedi Fallen Order, possibly.
Yeah.
Or now Jedi Survivor. Partner title, whatever really that means, I don't know.
A game they're working on with another studio is how I'm perceiving that.
Or something they have like a license to, or bought a license to, maybe.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
And then another sports title, shocking. And then they also said that they have a remake in the works, which is theoretically not the Dead Space remake, because we already knew about that. Again, this was one that was supposedly unannounced. The Dead Space one got announced before that. So EA thinks they have something cooking.
So
what exactly all it is, who knows?
Sports title?
Skate. Next Skate game?
Yeah. But no, they've already confirmed that.
Unannounced. For unannounced. Each of these has not been officially announced yet.
Okay, so maybe we're going to get a skate-style BMX game. I don't know.
Another Titanfall?
There's rumors that... There's not Titanfall. Rumors...
You said
rumors,
that.
We're not getting another Titanfall. At least probably not anytime soon.
Yeah, sadly.
I don't think they... Well, I guess that considers that a major IP, but somehow I don't think EA does consider it a major IP. But the sports title, there was some rumblings that they were going to try to bring back the Fight Night franchise, their boxing sim type game.
Yeah.
So maybe that's an outside possibility. Beyond that, I don't really know, because I feel like if it is a sports title, like, we already know all of EA's sports titles. Like, I don't know what the secret is here if it's not something that they haven't done in a little while. And then, yeah, the remake, again, EA has a very extensive back catalog, so God only knows what that could be.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try and dive into that one, because we'll be here.
A million different things.
Yeah, we'll be here all day trying to figure that out.
And yeah, I don't know what partner title means. Like, again, maybe it does mean, like, something with another studio. Maybe it does mean something they just bought the license to that they're going to make a quick buck on or something. I don't know. Something
that somebody else is developing, but they're going to publish under EA? Yeah, I mean...
That's possible.
That is very up to interpretation.
Yeah.
Did they give a timeline on when we'll get more information on those 4?
No. They just said that they're supposed to release sometime... I think it's supposed to be early next year. Which, great. We need more shit early next year, since we just... like we already talked about.
Yeah. We lost one of the biggest titles of this year, so let's add it to next year. Remember, Josh, when we were talking off mic about, like, why do people do shit the way they do?
Yeah.
This is one of them.
Facts. Facts.
Yeah, and then also there was, in relation to EA, there was a product description released for what is the new Mass Effect, whether that's Mass Effect 5 or technically 4 or whatever they're going to call it. Supposedly, in the description, it accidentally teased the return of Shepard.
No shot. I knew it. We all knew it.
Well, but then they claimed it was a mistake, and it has been corrected. But obviously, that's not going to stop people from speculating.
There's no way they would do... I mean, there is a way. They could absolutely do a sequel to the original 3, bring back a lot of the OG characters, and have it be about, a totally new character. But in my gut, when they announced that, and you see the epic trailer they've released with Liara pulling up a piece of N7 armor, and it's like, come on.
I mean, again, they've already very strongly hinted that if Shepard's not directly in the game, you're gonna be like looking for him or something. But I mean, it is what happened. And I mean, they claimed that the person who wrote the description was in marketing and wasn't familiar with the project and yada yada yada. Which again may or may not be true, but even still, like, people were already guessing, and this just added ammo to the gun that Shepard's coming back for this next Mass Effect. Blah, blah.
Accumulation. Looking for Shepard, and then Mass Effect 7, you find him.
I want to wait 3 games to get to that. That sounds terrible.
What they're going to use instead of the looming Reaper threat.
the looming Shepard threat.
Yes.
Maybe one day I'll play Mass Effect and get these puns you guys are saying.
What's his next favorite store, right? That's the question.
Hey, I'd see that game I would play.
My name is Commander Shepard, and this is my favorite planet in space.
Yeah. Then yeah, other EA news. Criterion, which we actually also talked about recently, absorbed a group in Cheshire, England, Codemasters. They just merged them together, so they're all going to be under Criterion's umbrella now. Both teams with great racing pedigrees. So, I mean, like, the rumor was that they're working on a new Need for Speed this year, so maybe that has something to do with that. So yeah, they just merged 2, and Criterion's an English studio as well, so they're now, nobody lost their jobs or anything. They're just absorbing that studio.
Talk that they are in the works of making a new Need for Speed.
It is actually it kind of got confirmed during the investors call. They said they have a planned Need for Speed. Again, we still don't know what form that's going to take or what it's going to look like, but they did during the investor call mention that they do have a Need for Speed in the works. We still don't know if it's being developed specifically by Criterion. They literally just said, like, we have a new Need for Speed that should be out this year is the plan.
Okay.
So we'll see how true that is, but this might have something to do with that. And then the Dead Space remake that has been making waves the last month or so, it's announced that they are aiming for a January release date. I think specifically, you said what Josh, like January 27th or 28th, something like that?
Yeah, January 27th, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it just Dead Space, or is it going to be all 3?
It's
just the first one.
Okay.
Just the first one.
But they are remaking it from like the ground up. Like it's a full on remake, not just a remaster. So they're gonna redo some of the control schemes and do new audio,
improve the physics,
graphics. Yeah,
shit like
it's
that.
Gonna be. I'm scared the living daylights out of you type stuff. I'm sure.
Dead Space 1 and 2 are heralded as 2 of the better survival shooters out there. Dead Space 3 not so much, but
credit to Dead Space games. So like in how games do sequels. Dead Space 1 was terrifying. It made you not want to move forward in the game. Kind of like how old Resident Evil games were, right? And then how they did with the Dead Space 2. And how you have to go back to the place you were in the first game. You have to you have to revisit it, and it gives you anxiety.
I mean, it's something that they did very well. To a point, they basically made like Alien. I mean, because you're really just alone the entire time on a spaceship with something trying to kill you. Like it's basically just Alien. To an extent,
really
obviously, it has some.
It's like the Flood from Halo. It is like a good way to put it.
To a point, yeah. But so like they're heralded, especially in like the modern era, without being considered like too old school. Like they are considered kind of modern classics. So like it's cool that it's getting remade. They put out a few trailers here and there showing off some of the new tech that they've put in the game. All of which looks kind of cool, but
they've been very communicative with the public with this remaster. So I've seen and heard that they've been very, very just like, hey, this is what we're doing, this and this, and it's neat. I like when developers and studios do that kind of stuff with their. Not enough do that, especially when they do remasters and stuff.
I mean, yeah, again, they know that it's being remade for reasons because there is a fan base for this game, and so they need to address that fan base. But like, hey, we're not fucking this up. Everything's fine. Like we know what we're doing. We swear. yeah, so we'll see that when the time comes. And then the biggest EA news by far, EA and FIFA are officially parting ways. So we will. Well, okay. So this is going to be a little confusing. We're getting FIFA 23 this year, which will still be made by EA, but next year, EA's soccer football franchise will be called EA Sports FC Football Club. And it's going to be able to do everything that EA already does under the FIFA license. So they already have like all the players, everything that they have. They just don't have the official FIFA branding, and they won't be able to do the World Cup stuff because FIFA owns the rights to that stuff. And then FIFA theoretically is going to find a new partner to make a new FIFA game, and still release it as FIFA 24, 25, 26, so on.
So weird.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
So, real quick, they're parting ways after almost 30 years. So
yeah,
this is like
this year will be the 29th FIFA game since 1993.
that is insane that after almost 30 years they're going separate ways.
Yeah.
Well, we did mention in a past episode, I believe, that like how
There was rumors this was happening.
that, and then FIFA, how the FIFA, the company itself, they squeeze that money, ridiculous charge.
I mean,
EA.
It's all that FIFA does in general is squeeze money, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, they essentially wanted to over double the price that EA was paying for the license. Again, just the license. Like just for essentially like those 4 letters on the box. Like that's like FIFA was not providing anything else aside from like those letters and that like official FIFA branding. And like EA wanted to start doing like FIFA, like a FIFA Pro League, and do like esports events and all this other stuff. And FIFA was like, no, you're only allowed to make a soccer game. And so like, relationship became increasingly strained. And I think then that money broke the camel's back. They were asking $250 million a year for each 4-year cycle, which, if you can do math, adds up to $1 billion.
That's insane.
Yeah.
For them to literally just put 4 letters on the front of the box.
Gosh.
And yeah, there was some shots fired back and forth between EA and FIFA's president. Andrew Wilson, the CEO, said FIFA was literally just all they were providing was 4 letters on a box, and they don't need that anymore.
So they had like no help in the development of these games. Like they literally
that's what FIFA does. They just sell their license and stuff. Here's
the thing is,
yeah,
FIFA needs EA. EA doesn't need FIFA.
Yeah, that's what I also think is funny is that so they up the price for their license, and then they think that they're going to be able to find somebody else. Again, within a year, mind you. Like, it's not like I don't think FIFA was looking around at other people until this like officially went down. So like they're gonna have to find somebody within a year and a half from now, because FIFA usually comes out around like August, September.
Ground up.
Yeah, to build a game from the ground up, unless they latch onto an already pre-existing soccer franchise, which there's only one other one out there, and it's nowhere near as good as FIFA. And also just went as like a free-to-play model earlier this year, and then released to poor reviews and has not done well so far on yada yada. So I don't know what magical dreamland the FIFA board is living in where they think they can pull this off.
They clearly don't know video games and what it takes to develop them.
Oh yeah. I don't think they have the slightest clue.
So this is going to bite them in the ass.
If the only thing I can think of is they can figure somebody out and they actually are able to make a game that says FIFA 24, 5, 6, whatever, that'll probably get some people, because people will look at the box and just, not savvier people like us who know about this stuff will literally just see FIFA on the box and buy it.
Right.
Yeah.
That might be their only saving grace in this, but
it really is. And then at that point, somebody might be like, hey, you should try this other soccer game now that FIFA sucks, and they'll point them to EA Sports. And that's the thing. Like EA already when this dropped, EA was prepared. They're like, look, we have all of these leagues that we used to have. We have all of these teams that we used to have. All these stadiums. They're like, basically everything will be the exact same. We just do not have the official FIFA branding, and we're not allowed to make the World Cup. That's really the only thing that's going to change.
Yeah.
At least on that base level. They might try to find some new crazy mode or something like space soccer. I don't know. But besides those two things, it's going to be the same game. But yeah, it's crazy end with almost 30-year partnership, you said. It's wild.
Well, good luck to FIFA, because they are going to need it.
They are definitely going to need it.
All right, so PlayStation has announced a game preservation team. I'm kind of taking that at face value as their whole job is to preserve maybe older titles and kind of keep them relevant.
Yeah, they weren't super clear on what this was. They just announced that it exists, and they announced I'm blanking on the guy's name. They then asked who the team lead was, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm super excited for this project," and da-da-da. But they still didn't entirely say what it was or what his job was. I mean, again, we could take that at face value that it is, preserving games. But does that mean he's trying to make old games playable on newer hardware, stuff that we don't already have access to? Is this a backwards compatibility thing, or is he going to try to make PlayStation 1 and 2 games work on PS5, PS4? We really don't know. They really did not go into detail.
That's interesting. I'm curious to hear as time goes on and more information comes out about it, what this team actually is and what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, and whatever it is, I'm all, well, I guess I shouldn't say whatever, but with the title of what this team is, it does sound like a good thing, and it's something that video games in general, I think, need to do a better job of, and we've talked about it a couple times here on the podcast before about
and we'll keep talking
preserving
about it.
games. Oh yeah, we will. It'll come up again and again. But video games in general have a terrible job of preserving our history. There's so many games that you literally just can't play anymore because they're impossible to find. They never got remade or re-released or whatever. So finding ways to curb that and stop that are only positives in my book.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll be nice if Xbox and PC jump on and start doing a similar project as well. Let's bring some of these older titles back. Let's keep some of these titles that are popular now. Let's keep them playable 20 years from now when they're going to be irrelevant.
So yeah, we'll see what comes of it, whatever this means. And then in other PlayStation news, we talked about how they're changing up their PlayStation Plus subscriptions. Now they're doing that 3-tier things, and supposedly with some of the higher tiers, in addition to all those extra games that you're going to be able to just play. Apparently, they're going to try and make people give out 2-hour game trials for if you're in some of those higher tiers of PlayStation Plus.
Really?
Yeah, which I don't know. Theoretically, as a consumer, that sounds great. You get a free 2-hour trial for a game to see if you like it or not.
Yeah.
The problem is that. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
Well, you're hold on. I want to finish what you had to say. I want to hear what you had to say, and then I'll throw my sense in.
The problem with that is that some games don't really take that long, so that could be a third of a game, depending on what level it's at, and then also forcing that on developers and stuff is also not the best idea. And some games, a 2-hour time trial is not long enough to get a good sense of what that game is. So I don't know. If they're allowing it, I think that would be one thing. But if they're forcing people, I think that's a whole other problem.
So, 2-hour game trial for higher tier PlayStation Plus subscribers. So, I'm not too familiar with PlayStation Plus, but I'm assuming what this is that you get a 2-hour trial of a game that's already for free?
No, so like you would essentially think of it as like what EA does now, like with EA Access. You get like that. I think it's like 10 hours before a game comes out, or like you can play it for 10 hours before, like before the game officially releases, and then you still need to buy it and stuff. So it's essentially like a 2-hour demo. Like you'll get
Like
to
a
play the
2-hour
full game,
early access to the full game.
more or less. Yeah.
Okay.
You get to play the theoretical first 2 hours to any game that would have this.
So that makes a little bit more sense. I don't like it because now you're forcing developers to take an extra step.
Yeah, that's if it's a request and it's something that's possible, that's one thing. But yeah,
Right.
if they're forcing it, that's a dick move. Like,
And I mean, realistically, to put a 2-hour block in, it probably isn't that difficult in the scope of what they're already doing with the game. But it's still like, that's an extra step that they've already got to take, especially if it's coming down to a game that's getting ready to release, let's say within a month or so. That's not what they're focused on.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what's even weirder is, I mean, this is them theoretically trying to add value to those higher tiers of PlayStation Plus that we talked about in our last news video. That like they're trying to find a way to add value to those as opposed to just that back catalog of games. So in theory, this would be kind of a good way to do that because it could give you, a leeway into certain games if you're not sure about them. But again, like if they're forcing people, and again, certain games, it's just not really a viable option. Like 2 hours is either too much time in the game or it's not enough time in the game to get a good sense of it.
I mean, we've played games that you call it the opening of the game. I'm trying to think of the tutorial. The tutorial of the game is 2 hours.
Yeah, some games.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like this idea. I think the option for it, okay. Forcing it, no.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, the PlayStation has been blocking redemption codes for PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus because people were trying to gimmick it, which was actually something we talked about before with Xbox Game Pass, that you can buy gold and then just pay $1 and get all that gold transferred over to Ultimate.
Yeah.
They essentially, PlayStation users were kind of trying to do the same deal. If you bought PlayStation Now, you get automatically transferred into that middle tier of the new PlayStation Plus. So people were trying to redeem those codes and stuff. And Sony saw that, was like, no. And so they literally, until which is weird, because apparently now I think, as far as I know, they still haven't lifted it either. And this started back in late April. It's like April 26th or 27th. And it, as of now, it's May 15th. And I don't think you're still allowed to redeem a code. And I don't think you're going to be able to until they finally combine the services. Which is
so strange.
Yeah, it's a little screwed up because, you go buy what if somebody's birthday was like today and they got a PlayStation Plus subscription? They can't friggin' redeem it because PlayStation won't let them because they think they're getting scammed out of, people converting stuff into higher subscription tiers.
They can't take it like a man. Jeez Louise.
See, I that one's not sitting right with me. In the end, Sony's going to get their money. It's going to get paid for. I mean, obviously, Xbox didn't do anything to block it. You said you have 3 years of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate for $1.
Yeah. Yep.
In the end, Xbox is going to get their money out of you, so they're not really worried about you paying $1 or you paying $20.
Yeah. It's very sketchy on their part that they basically outright said too that they're and that was the thing, is like this happened and people started reporting it like, hey, all these codes we got are not working, and then Sony came out like a few days later and be like, yeah, we're blocking those codes, and we're like, well, why? It's like, well, because of the new, we don't think it's right until the new subscription rolls out so that you can use it appropriately. And it was literally just them trying not to get, quote unquote, get scammed, but really like you said, they were still going to get their money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's not sitting right with me. And Sony's investing over $3 million into first-party studios and games, putting them on quote unquote multiple platforms.
Yeah, they're investing in multi-plat titles, which is crazy.
But
Oh,
they've been so heavy.
clarification.
Okay,
Again, it says multiple platforms.
That's probably PC. Yeah.
I was gonna say you could either take this to mean it might just mean PS4 and PS5 because they are technically different platforms, or again maybe it might just be PS4, PS5, and PC. Like it doesn't necessarily mean that they're suddenly going to put stuff on the Switch or on Xbox or whatever. They Sony lately really loves this whole cagey kind of verbiage. I don't know why.
I'm skeptical about this one. I'm thinking it's PS4, PS5. They've been so hard pressed on exclusivity and essentially keeping stuff out of Microsoft, one way or another, or one way or another. I can't see them all this sudden be like, "Hey, let's be friends." Yeah, they're not putting it on Xbox; they're putting it on PC, but it's still a Microsoft product.
Well, I mean, it would most likely be through Steam, and again, investing in those studios, like they bought specifically a couple studios to help with PC development. So again, it might also be them referring to something they're kind of already doing, which is putting up some of their older back catalog, like God of War, Uncharted 4, Death Stranding, onto PC. So it might be some of their older back catalog too. Like,
Right.
So you should not take this as again like hey, you're getting God of War Ragnarok PC same date. Like I don't think that's happening. Like that's.
Right.
But again, maybe there'll be like the smaller time lapse window, or again, it'll be more back catalog stuff,
Right.
which is still good. It's not what everybody wants, but still technically a positive. They're finally moving stuff off their platform.
Yeah, we'll see what comes of this as time goes on.
Just a few days ago, as of us recording this on May 10th, Gotham Knights released a new trailer. Showed off about 13 minutes of gameplay. Showed off a lot of Nightwing and Red Hood. No Robin or Batgirl gameplay.
I've seen the internet's been broken up about it.
Well, I mean, part of it is, the gameplay itself kind of, it doesn't look terrible, but it hasn't received the greatest feedback, but it is still in development. That might be from an old build or something. Yeah. But they also canceled the PS4 and Xbox One versions of the game, confirming the October 25th release date that we already heard about. But they have officially canceled the PS4, Xbox One versions of the game, so now you can only get it on PC, Series X or S, and PS5.
Which are not the first studio to do.
Yeah, and this is something that's just going to happen more and more, especially again after how bad Cyberpunk turned out. Like, at a certain point, you're going to have to cut their losses and try and make the best game you can, and putting it on, what is now almost 10-year-old hardware is not going to do that.
Well, and you look at how far into the transition we are from previous gen to this gen. We're getting to that point where more games are going to start being next gen only.
Yeah, it is just going to happen.
You can't keep the previous gen alive while having this new gen hardware. You're bottlenecking yourself, essentially. You're not going to be able to have these games perform at their best if you're still supporting both generations.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So,
I guess go get yourself a PS5 or an Xbox Series XS if you want to play them.
Or if you can, because they're still kind of hard to come by.
I've been seeing the Series
PS5s. PS5s are hard to come by, but the Series X and S's have become very much more readily available.
That is true.
I see the Series S in Walmarts now, like physical. You can buy it right there.
Yeah, the Series S has been almost readily available for a while now.
Yep.
Like you can. X is still a little harder to come by, but not. Yep. insanely so. PS5s are still very hard to come by. Also, we recently heard that supposedly Final Fantasy 16 is in the exact quote is final stages of development. Which, I mean, if that's true, that's actually kind of insane. Like,
Is this is that the sequel to?
I mean, as much as a Final Fantasy game is a sequel to anything, because they're all different. Like, the only ones that are direct sequels are specifically labeled as such, like, you know, Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2.
Yeah, they're all in numerical order, like they are sequels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's considering there hasn't been really any leaks or anything about it, and the fact that it's supposedly that far along in development is actually pretty wild. Usually, yeah, they're kind of, especially from Square Enix, like Final Fantasy is. I mean, I think it's hard to argue that it is their biggest franchise. And yeah, the fact that they're supposedly this close to being done without any leaks or anything like that, or you know, us not really knowing anything about it is pretty crazy. And that, you know, if they really are that far along, there's a chance we'll see it this year. Like, it might come out before the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, curious as to what they mean by final stages.
I mean, yeah, that leaves a lot up to interpretation.
Yeah.
Supposedly, one of the voice actors said that he was done recording on it. So, I mean, in theory, that would mean that voice work is more or less done, which is usually. I mean, it's usually pretty far in development that you finish voice work, because at that point you've finished writing the story and you're not, like, you know, rewriting stuff. And
imagine you have to have gameplay actually there, so that way you can get the voices to match up with, you know, the scenes and stuff like that.
Good point. Yeah.
So
depends on how they do it, but.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, again, a big bombshell like that would be. I mean, it would be huge for Square, especially after just selling off all those studios and stuff they did a few weeks ago.
It'll be interesting to see what comes of that. I mean, we're still fairly early into the year. We're almost halfway done with this year, but there's still plenty of time left for them to release it if it's that far along.
Yeah.
Sega is planning multiple remakes, remasters in the future. They plan on releasing 13 games this year, 7 of which are currently unknown. This is news to me because I didn't know Sega had 13 games.
I didn't really know about it either, but that's apparently their plan. So the multiple remasters actually goes along with what we were talking about in the last video. That there was rumors they were going to redo Crazy Taxi and Jet Grind Radio.
Yeah.
So this lends some credence to that. What else they would be in line with, I have no idea. Sega has a very nice deep back catalog that they could go to. But yeah, so like the 6 games we know about this year, we know about Sonic Frontiers, Sonic Origins, Soul Hackers 2. I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head. There's another 2 Point Hospital kind of expansion coming out that they're counting in that. I can't remember what the other 2 are. But I mean, yeah, the fact that there's still like 7 games that we don't even know about that are supposed to release this year kind of speaks volumes. Like, that could be anything.
So I'm looking at their list of games right now, and it's like looking at Activision's back catalog of games that they have. Like, it is.
Yeah, their back catalog is tremendous. There's a lot there that they could go to.
Yeah. I can't even begin to speculate on what these 7 unknown games could be.
Well, what
are the odds it could be new IP? Like something that's not...
It's entirely possible. I mean, that's the thing. Like, so of these 7 games, which are currently unknown, not all of them are remakes or remasters. Like, they they announced this all together in one thing, but like, so they have 7 unannounced games. It could be anything. Like, we don't know what they are. It is. I'm gonna feed this solely for myself, but this is technically the 25th year of Persona franchise, and they've been counting down. Like, there's a whole website that's been counting down to stuff, and that there's been various Persona announcements. So and they also just recently, Outlist released a survey recently about what or like how they're doing and how people are liking their games and stuff like that. Which they usually only release in Japan, but now they've actually finally put it in English, so people across the world can take this survey. So there's rumors that they're going to try and move some of the old Personas to other consoles, even Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal to other consoles and PC and stuff. Which people have been dying for, and I mean, give me the faintest excuse to play Persona 5 Royal again. It's literally all I need.
Let you put another 200 hours into that game.
Fine. Put it on Xbox. Like, I just need the thinnest veil of an excuse, and I will play that game again. Like, I don't even. It'd be like, we changed 1 pixel in the bottom left corner of this screen. Be like, done. I'll play it again. I'm like, fine.
Son of a bitch.
You got me. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But, like, so there's that. I mean, Streets of Rage 4 came out, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, so maybe they're going to try to bring back Streets of Rage in a proper light for those remakes. I mean, again, like we talked, like, their back catalog is insane. It's Sega. Like, they have so much that they could pull from back catalog-wise. And again, like, it could also be a new IP. Like, they do have several studios that work on, modern games and stuff. Sega has several studios that work on, like, strategy games. They are one of the big strategy game makers of the modern day. So we'll see, but yeah, they have. I was shocked when they said they had 13 games in the pipeline this year. I was shocked.
Well, I guess we'll have to see what comes of that.
Who knows? Sega could be the next usher of great games.
I mean, they have been in the past.
Yep.
Yeah. And alongside with things, when it comes to, like, back to, my favorite place, Ubisoft. God, I love Ubisoft.
Can you guys believe it? He's made it a whole episode without mentioning Ubisoft until now.
At least we're getting, like, the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora this year.
Specifically, they claimed Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope, which is the sequel to Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle that came out for the Switch, the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora game, and more insanely, Skull and Bones are all going to release before the end of fiscal year 2022, which is
I totally forgot about Skull and Bones.
Which is like March, April of 2023.
What? Isn't that game been through development hell?
Yes, which is why it's shocking that they swear up and down that it's going to be out before the end of the fiscal year, because nobody had any idea about what was going on with it, because it hasn't been. I think the last showing we saw of it was E3 2019. I think that's right. Was the last time they actually showed, like, gameplay, like, hey, Skull and Bones is still in development, like, this is what it is now, here we are. And that was 3 years ago.
It looked like it was going to be pretty cool, because, everybody loved Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and the fact that it was drawing inspiration from that whole setup was, a great idea. Had a lot of people excited, but only God knows what it's looking like now, because no one knows.
Well, supposedly, there was some footage that leaked, I think it was, like, at the beginning of May. It was supposedly, like, an earlier build of Skull and Bones, and it got confirmed that was actually real, and not just, like, CGI or some mod on some other game or whatever else. And it looked fairly solid, but it looked like it was missing a lot. Like there was no like in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, like you can you're controlling Captain Kenway, and you can get off the ship and board another ship and wreak
Looks like they
havoc.
took that away.
Yeah, it looks like that's all gone.
Oh,
So it looks
God.
like it's more directly just ship-to-ship combat, and whether or not any of the open world nature is still there, it looks like that might be up for debate as well.
That would be that would
So
be,
but again, they said it was an older build, and then they said nothing else. So maybe that's been fixed now. We don't know. Again, Skull and Bones has not been officially talked about for basically 3 years. We have nothing. It's I mean that was the real surprise. Like
yeah.
I mean Avatar, we sort of mulled over whether or not that was still going to hit this year, and I mean technically this fiscal year would be in 2023, but and Mario and Rabbids Spark of Hope we also haven't seen for about a year. I think we've seen since it got announced.
They were because when they just announced the partnership with Nintendo for it, and
I mean yeah, so supposedly they Ubisoft has sworn up and down that all of that is going to be out. That is going to be their slate for the rest of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
We'll see. I still have very high doubts about Skull and Bones actually coming out before then, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We'll definitely see. Okay, so I think that's gonna kind of wrap it up for this episode.
Yeah.
Before we kind of dive into the ending of this episode, I do want to make an announcement. I am being deployed, and I will be gone for a few months. And with that, when we found out that I was deploying, we kind of came to a crossroads as what to do with the podcast. We had a couple options. We could put it on hold and resume when I get back. We could try and push through. Ultimately, what we came to is we built a back catalog of episodes to kind of fill the void while I'm gone. And we have it kind of lined up now that these episodes will release as they would normally if I was still here. So every other Friday, you're still going to get a new episode. We figured that would be the best, most practical way to go about this time is to keep that consistency and keep that content coming out. With that being said, is these episodes are going to be unedited. It was more important for us to get the content and get those episodes built.
They're in the raw. It's raw conversation.
It is. It's going to be raw. I'm not really sure how long each one's going to be. There may be 45 minutes. They may be up to an hour and a half. I'm going to edit them. I am going to have to split some of them in a way that it's going to make sense. So just kind of bear with us. Know that we wanted to get these episodes out, and we wanted to make sure that we kept the consistency of our episodes being released. And when I get home, we will resume and we'll pick up and conduct business as normal.
Yeah,
That is the plan.
that is the plan.
So for now, this is our last regularly recorded episode, is what we've been calling them when we're chatting with each other. So from here until I return, it'll be deployment episodes, and I think in all of them we identify it as a deployment episode.
I'm pretty sure we do.
For the most
Yeah.
part, I think.
And as I'm editing, I can always throw that little bit in there if we have forgot to mention it. But so yeah, this will be our last one until I return. And anyways, we really appreciate you guys sticking with us through this one. I really hope you guys continue to listen to us or listen to the episodes that we do have set aside to release during my absence. We do really appreciate it. Before we sign out, Brenden, what are you playing? And what do you think you're going to be playing during this time?
I jumped back into Halo Infinite because the new season recently dropped. I played through Trek to Yomi, which we talked about one of our previous episodes, that side-scrolling black and white samurai game I played through that. That was pretty cool. I am still playing Elden Ring because I have committed to finishing that game 2 more times at least. As for what I'm playing while you're gone, honestly, I don't think there's too much coming out new-wise that I'm excited about, so I'll probably be diving into my back catalog. I don't know, I've had a real itch to move on in the Yakuza series, because I played Yakuza 0 earlier this year, so I would jump into Yakuza Kiwami, which is like the remake of the first game. But that's still not set in stone, but yeah, I would probably mostly be in my back catalog. I think the only new game that's coming out that I'm looking forward to that I know of within the next few months is Fire Emblem: The Three Fates, or Fire Emblem Warriors: The Three Fates. Sorry, for Switch in late June. But yeah, otherwise probably I'll be playing Elden Ring and diving into my back catalog and swimming in the endless ocean that is. Josh, what about you?
Well, currently, recently I just beat the DLC for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I'm currently playing through my brand new playthrough of Cyberpunk version.
Nice.
And I'm having a blast with that. And as to what I'll be playing while you're gone, Tim, I have been subduing this refined itch to play through the Mass Effect trilogy again. So I'm 100% going to be doing that after Cyberpunk, and that's going to consist of a nice lengthy time frame. So I'm looking forward to that.
Not a bad way to spend it.
No.
Hell no.
Tim, what about you? What are you playing recently? What do you plan to play on your deployment?
So right now it's Elden Ring for me still.
Shock! Surprise.
I know. And then here's another curveball for you. Simulators, as always.
Who are you? What have you done with Tim?
I know. Scoundrel. And then as far as on the deployment, because I screwed up and I bought Elden Ring for PC, I don't know that there's going to be anything else that I'm going to play besides that in simulators while I'm there. We'll kind of see. I would like to dive back into Horizon, and I would like to eventually finish Skyrim, and that was honestly my plan before getting Elden Ring on PC, was to use this summer to finally beat Skyrim. I don't know. I'm just going to kind of take it, day by day, week by week, and kind of see, A, how much time I have to actually play while we're there, and then B, just what I do end up playing and how many times I do play Elden Ring.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to wrap it up for this episode. We really appreciate you guys sticking with this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, thumbs up, comment, anything you could do, whatever platform you listen to us on. And we'll see you guys when I get back.
Later, guys.
Well, yeah, thanks for listening. Let us know what you guys think of the deployment episodes and stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thanks, guys.